Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Chang Hedderly, and I'm the lead staff for the Bay Alive campaign. Launched in 2021, thanks to a bequest from the roll-off estate, the Bay Alive campaign brings together all of our sister chapters surrounding the Bay to educate and advocate both locally and regionally. We focus on safeguarding the Bay's living shorelines, using natural and nature-based strategies to improve community resilience to sea level rise, and supporting equity in resilience planning, investment, and outcomes. And since neither nature nor climate change respect jurisdictional boundaries, we think regional coordination and collaboration is an absolute must. This year's been super busy, but also pretty exciting as we're wrapping up some multi-year projects with pretty promising results. I'm going to tell you about a couple of examples in a minute, but first I want to take you behind the curtain to get a peek at some of the internal work and capacity building that's made those results possible. Thanks to the increasingly focused efforts of volunteers and staff to build relationships, expand communications, and target our outreach and education, this year, more allies are sharing our content with their communities. Supporter engagement and activism has expanded by orders of magnitude, and several new volunteers have joined both our local and regional Bay Alive leadership teams. They've really helped expand our issue expertise. They've filled out a lobby meeting team to engage regional decision makers. And after years on my own wish list, they helped launch a new Letters to the Editor writing group to spread awareness about sea level rise issues. We're working on local campaigns in several cities within the chapter area, but I want to share this one tonight because it's been a long and productive journey that ends this year. In 2021, the city of East Palo Alto began planning to add 4.5 million square feet of new office development to the shoreline district that could have caused massive impacts to the community and its healthy baylands. And it also could have limited the city's options for sea level rise adaptation. Over the past 4 years, we've made steady progress, seeing meaningful and responsive improvement each step of the way. Although the new scaled down plan will still have major impacts, it now also protects 17 acres of wetlands and includes our preferred levee alignment. It has new groundwater rise and contamination policies and strong policies to limit impacts on biological resources, dark skies, and bird safety. And importantly, the plan's development standards and innovative community benefits framework are unusually responsive to priorities voiced by the community itself. I think if you asked on day one, I don't think anyone in our coalition would have said, sure, we can get all those things done. Moving on to our regional coordination priority, a new state law called SB 272 took effect this year that requires every shoreline community statewide to develop a sea level rise plan by 2034. In the Bay Area, the Bay Conservation and Development Commission, known as BCDC, will approve or deny those plans and was also tasked with developing guidelines for what the plans have to cover by the end of this year. It took 2 years for the law to pass, and thanks to advocacy by us and other environmental and environmental justice groups, in the end, language was added to the bill to support strategies that put nature first and to support socially vulnerable communities. So those have been really important hooks for us as we've been working on the guidelines. Since then, we've been working with BCDC as appointed members of their expert advisory working group and also on their implementation committee. And we've also been educating and mobilizing community groups and Bay Area residents to make sure those critical pieces, nature and equity, were front and center as BCDC developed the guidelines, which are now known as the Regional Shoreline Adaptation Plan, or RSAP for short. The draft RSAP was recently released for public comment. It includes a detailed region-wide vision requires cities to address strategic regional priorities, and it sets minimum criteria and standards that must be met for local plans to get approved. The RSAP has come a very long way this year in the right direction. So we're pleased about that. But there are still some major gaps and disconnects that need to be fixed. This regional plan is going to shape the resilience of the entire Bay Area. And we and the Bay are going to have to live with the results for decades to come. So now is the time for Bay Area residents, if you haven't already, and even if you have already, to speak up to help make sure BCDC gets it right. I hope that you'll all sign up for our October 9th webinar to learn more about the RSAP and how to make public comments. And then join us to speak up at the October 17th BCDC hearing in just a couple of weeks. If that's not your cup of tea, you can also just go to our AddUp campaign page and send our petition letter. Looking ahead to next year, among other new and ongoing projects, we'll be shifting gears on the RSAP to focus on local plan development, hopefully with local volunteer teams in several cities. We're going to continue to work with our allies to push back on a proposal from San Mateo County's Flood Protection District, known as One Shoreline, to build a 2.5-mile barrier in the bay off the coast of Burlingame and Millbrae. And we'll stay actively engaged on the massive Redwood Life Biotech Development Project right on top of a landfill near the Redwood Shores Ecological Reserve. I want to thank you all for your support in this important work, and I'm going to close out with a little clip from our new short video series. This clip picks up just after an explanation of how sea level rise pushes up groundwater, creating all sorts of problems. You can see the rest and the whole video series on the Bay Alive website. So thanks again for tuning in, and here's the video.
So in spite of the levees which we build to protect us from sea level rise, the saltwater can move under the levees, pushing up the groundwater, causing a number of problems on what we thought was dry land. Our creeks and low-lying lands can be flooded, as well as our gray infrastructure, our roads, parking lots, and basements of buildings. Water-soaked electrical systems could fail. Water seeping into cracked sewer pipes can drown our wastewater systems, which weren't designed to carry that kind of load. And this can cause an overflow of untreated water into the environment. There are hundreds of contaminated industrial sites, landfills, and old dumps on the shores of San Francisco Bay, where the cleanup or containment strategies may not stand up to the new threat of groundwater rise. Many of these old toxic dumps were covered with a cement or clay surface and simply left in place. Some have even been built upon. It was thought that if the cap was well built, this was a safe practice, but groundwater rise challenges that assumption. When groundwater flows under the surface caps of the old dumps, the toxins, which were inert when capped in dry soil, can move and spread as the groundwater moves and spreads in the soil. These toxins, many of which are known poisons like mercury, chromium, oil and gas products, lead, etc., can end up in our streets, in our backyards, in our basements, and in our bay, sickening our people and the animals and plants that support our healthy ecology. So in spite of the levees which we build to protect